Hello, BookTube, and welcome back to Epic Comic Book Wednesday. This is a world's finest collaboration between Michael K Vaughan and myself, where we talk about comic books on Wednesdays for our 4 loyal viewers. And since I horned my way into this whole thing years ago, Mike gets to pick what we talk about. And sometimes that ends in catastrophe, because whenever his tastes stray from my own, they lapse into disaster. So, in other words, look at October. Look at the comic book productions that are coming out in October of 2025. There are many. There are a great many. And a lot of them look really good. But one of them is a big hardcover omnibus volume of Mike Grell's Warlord. And I guarantee you that when Mike saw that listing, he hit pre-order and cheered like crazy. So, in other words, letting him pick what we're going to talk about, that can lead to trouble. But not today. Not today. Not only today did he pick a great character that we've talked about before, Mike Mignola's Hellboy. The writer and artist Mike Mignola dreamt up the idea of a crew of scientists and soldiers in World War II who accidentally are present at the summoning of a baby demon to Earth. And proving that nurture is more than nature, they raise the baby to be a solid guy, a stand-up G.I. Joe type figure, and thoroughly American. Even though as he grows older, he is definitely demonic. He's red skin, he has a forked tail, he's immensely strong, and he has one hand encased in otherworldly stone. One hand is indestructible. He even would have horns if he didn't polish them down. And Hellboy goes on to investigate the supernatural. A lot of you will know this not because you've savored the comic books over the years, but because you know the movies. And it's fantastic it was fantastic for me to have been present while all this was happening. I was watching as Hellboy was developing in the comics, long before there were collections, long before there were any thought of movies, and I loved it. This is the character Mike Mignola was born to write and draw. A little bit ironic that the first time we get that, he had scripting assists, but he doesn't need them. And today we are talking about the greatest Hellboy story of them all. Hellboy has long, multi-part, full book adventures, and he has little adventures, little stories that just take a few pages. Today we are talking about a story called The Corpse. And there you have the classic signature Mike Mignola stuff. You could look at this and know that it's him, mainly because of the gigantic use of black ink on the page. He is a maestro of black on the page. And this I don't remember what format I got this original thing is. This is from The Chain Coffin and Other Stories, which is an older Hellboy graphic novel. I don't know what the exact date of this thing is. 1998. So I don't remember when I would first have encountered the corpse. I don't remember if it was a freestanding thing or not. And nowadays, I have to do that mental flex to stop to think of it as Hellboy, the Hellboy adventure, The Corpse, rather than to think of the body. One of the greatest episodes of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I have to keep them separate in my own mind. This is not the body. This is the corpse. And even though the corpse, I just parenthetically will say, even though the corpse is about a supernatural demon hero and a whole bunch of fae folk and a whole bunch of monsters, it's nowhere near as frightening as the body, as that episode of Buffy. But this takes place in the 1950s in rural Ireland. Look at that. Just look at that artwork. Where a family is in agony because their little baby, they are convinced, is a member of the fae folk, a member of the fairy, has been switched out with the she and is not their little baby. So their little baby is with the wee folk. And they want their baby back. And the father finds Hellboy, who knows where. I don't remember the backstory to this story. But he finds Hellboy, there's our hero, and asked him to help. And Hellboy takes out iron. What do babies like? They like iron, but fairies don't like iron. They hate iron. And this little creature is found out. And Hellboy is threatening, of course, to, do the worst. And unless you tell me where the baby is, I want the baby back for this family. And there's Hellboy. There's what I mean by his gigantic hand. And he also usually wears a trench coat. And he throws the little fairy creature into the furnace, but it doesn't really hurt the thing, just scars it a little. So it's still alive. It's haunting outside the window there. As it gives Hellboy instructions on what to do. Go to the crossroads where they used to hang dead people, and you'll find 3 gentlemen, 3 of the wee folk, and they will give you instructions on what to do. Hellboy goes there. Look at this artwork. Just incredible. He goes to this ruined old gibbet, and right when he's there, a body shows up on it and points him in the direction of these gentlemen carrying this corpse. The corpse is Tam O'Clany from Killarney, and they loved him so much. He was a favorite of theirs. Not much good for work was our Tammy, but he was a drinker and a card player and a wild man for dancing with pretty girls. But they concede, he's all danced out now. And they want him buried in a nice Christian burial place. And they are supernatural creatures of pre-Christianity, so they can't go to such a place themselves. So in order to get the baby back, Hellboy has to take the corpse. He has to take the corpse and bring it to one of those Christian sites and bury it. And we get these great... Mike Mignola can do this with a little panel. Look at this. That is just incredible. Only Mike Mignola would think that in this dark setting, the 3 little men in the background would be illuminated by moonlight. So, ordinarily a normal artist would say, well, if there are 3 figures in the background, they will be 3 dark figures. They'll be silhouetted in black. But no, every little detail that he makes like that is so good. And he and the corpse go to this first church, but there's no room. They're told by a Knight of the Crusades that there is no room, that they're all full. And when they go to the next church, they get the same story. No room. There's no room here. The third church they go to doesn't look like a church at all. It looks like a pagan site. They go to that. Those rocks in that vague structure in the background. But it doesn't matter because they are repulsed. They don't even get inside the thing to know whether or not there's no room. So they've got one last place. They've got one last church to go to, and it's got to be that because it can't be anything else. And we get a cutaway to the fairy folk, to all their different appearances and what we can presume is their king. Look at that visual. It's just incredible. Now, the little gremlin that Hellboy originally found out, it was disguised as that baby, wants vengeance. The other Fey folk are saying, well, if he succeeds, we must honor the deal. We must honor our agreement. So if he succeeds in burying that body before sunrise, then we'll give him the baby back. But the little demon that he first exorcised does not want any. He wants vengeance. He wants his own vengeance for being thrown in the furnace, for being thrown in the fireplace. So he takes a gigantic ornate key. He is asked where he's going by a random bat in the sky. He goes to this underwater Grendel's mother type figure, asking her to let loose a monstrosity, and she does. She lets loose a giant demon pig. And I want to point out here, the best thing about Hellboy is that he is not histrionic. He is basically a tight-lipped American GI. That's what he was. He was raised by American GIs. So when this enormous pig creature erupts out of this old bridge and starts yelling at him, he says, "Aw, geez." And he eventually defeats the thing. We get these big, broad, Kirby-esque action panels, which Mignola is so good at them. He eventually defeats the thing, and it turns out that while he was fighting with the giant pig monster, the corpse had its arm bitten off. And we know the culprit. The culprit is, look at that panel. The culprit is that weird Grendel's mother figure under the water. Hellboy gets the arm back, and he actually tells her, "I'll be back for you, you horrible thing." But first he has to get the corpse to the church, which he does just in time. Just as the sun is rising, he gets the corpse in there and buried. And a deal's a deal. So the Fey folk have to return the little baby. He actually taps its head with iron just to make sure. And we get, look at this. Look at the panel use here. We get the tapping, and we get him taking the baby home, and then we get this little panel in between that is just one of the fairies flying away. That's all. Just, it's almost decorative. And so he succeeds. And he's going to bring the baby back to the baby's happy parents. And you would think, well, okay, in terms of a nice supernatural romp that was a lot of fun, that wraps things up. But no, Mignola has a more melancholy note to strike. Because the fairies didn't abduct this child just for the fun of it. They abducted the child for survival, for their own survival. When Hellboy talks with the figure that we saw in that earlier panel, that figure says, "No living child of our race has been born into this century, and no more will ever come. We know this. The years, they beat upon us like an ocean upon a stone. We are worn away. Soon, I think, the king will gather us and march down into the shadows under the world where the old people go. Too late, the sons of Adam will cry, 'Where are the children of the earth?' Gone. Look for them you shall not look for, but you shall not find them, for they are gone forever." And Hellboy's response is completely unsentimental. He's a supernatural character himself, but his response is completely unsentimental. That little girl's parents don't care. And that's it. Just takes the baby home. just an incredible little story. The pure magic of Hellboy. So there you go. The Corpse. I must remember to call it The Corpse. So that is your Epic Comic Book Wednesday. I will leave a link to Mike's video down below. He always does his videos. He gets up at like 4 in the morning to go to work all day and still makes videos. I will leave a link to his video. I am sure that in this case we agree on every particular. That this is just as good as it gets. But a part of me wonders if there's smooth sailing ahead. After all, it is October. That is spooky season. We started that off with Hellboy, who's a pretty spooky fare, and that's fine by me. But imagine the horrors that could lie in wait. Weird tales. And so on. I'll have to hope. I'll have to hope for the best. So anyway, I'll wrap this up, and I'll see you soon. Thank you, BookTube.